Good morning, my friends. Welcome back to my channel. It's Belinda here, and it's time to play with some trash because it is Trash Craft Tuesday. So I've been having a little play around this morning, and I've kind of been through a progression of steps to come with something I'm happy with. So the idea is these little, I'm going to call them medallions because that's what Gail Agostinelli calls them. She has a special die that does the embossing and cutting, which I don't have, but we can do something like that without the special die. So just using some trash. This is the first one I tried. It is a paper bag. I've embossed it and it's just too flimsy. Like as a decoration, it's fine. Like if you were just to put it on a pocket or a tag or whatever, that's fine. But to use as a closure, it's not sturdy enough. So this is just a plain pretty red envelope. So as a closure, you know, you put them on like this, glue them along here, and then your flap tucks under to hold it closed, like so. And I love that, and it's something I do, but have never actually made like medallions before. I think super cute. So I did these ones, which are backed with, they're paper bag, but they're backed with copy paper. And I have to say that the copy paper is my preference because it makes them quite, you know, quite sturdy. But then I thought, well, why am I using copy paper? I could be using book page. So then I made them with book page. They are lighter. They're not as stiff, which are fine. You know, it doesn't need to be super heavy, but I do prefer the copy paper. But it depends on what book page you're using. So if you're using a heavier weight book page, it will be fine. These, I've prepared a lot of paper bag glued onto book page, so I'm going to be working with book page. This is just, I've got two different book pages. This is Reader's Digest, so just ordinary, you know, Reader's Digest condensed book. And then I've got some on Spanish book page, and they're both about the same weight. But they still work. So I also experimented, as you might be able to see, with different colour inks. So it's embossed. That one's purple, yellow, green. And then I have been using my postal scissors with the postal sort of edging. And I really like that, and it's probably my preference because it's decorative, but it's not too hard to cut out with the decorative scissors, and it doesn't like cut into your medallion too much. And then I thought, what if I try something like this Victorian, more elaborate edge? And I do like it, but it's harder, for one, to cut out, and like it cuts more into your medallion, but it still works just as well. Like, so my point in that is that use what you've got, whether you've only got one pair of fancy scissors or no fancy scissors. I did do one just with ordinary scissors, but I don't know where it's gone. You could also punch them. I tried punching, did not work for me, maybe because my punch needs sharpening, maybe I didn't let the glue dry from gluing it onto the page, book page. I don't know, but I was like, I actually really like the decorative edge anyway, rather than the just straight edge, straight circle edge. Does that make sense? You could also use a die if you've got a circle die, or make it whatever shape you like. You know, it could be hexagon. Get creative, it doesn't matter. But I'm just working with circles because that's my vision. Right. So I'm working with paper bags that I had already kind of cut into to use the paper for bits. And I cut a piece about the size of my book page, give or take. I'm not concerned about size. And I'm going to have to shorten that a bit, so let's do that. And I'm just going to keep working with this book page because they are fine. Right, now for this, I'm just going to cover it all in glue stick when I get the lid off. and glue it straight onto this book page. So how are you? How's your week going so far? I hope you're all well. Have you had a laugh today? I hope so. Laughter is good medicine. I was printing off some stuff this morning, and while I was kind of waiting for it to do its thing, the printer that is, I was just going through some reels on Facebook, and I was having a good old laugh. You know, there's some really funny reels out there. There's some really lame ones and some really boring ones, you know, depending what you're into. But I found a few funny ones, and oh my gosh, they were hilarious. I sent one through to my husband, and he reacted appropriately with a laughing face. Now, this paper bag has a shiny side and a matte side. I'm not worried about which side is up. This happens to be the shiny side. And then tear it off and leave it to dry a little bit, and then emboss it. Now, if you don't have an embossing machine, there's other ways you can dress them up. You could stamp them. You could colour them with watercolours or crayons or ink, you know, just an ink pad, whatever. You just get creative. You don't need to have an embossing machine, but I have a Cuttlebug, so I'm going to use it. And I've never done embossing on camera before. Oh, so this is my Cuttlebug. It's a bit dusty. Hopefully I'm in camera and shot. And I've got my sandwich here. Some of my embossing folders require different sandwiches, which is the layer of your plates and which ones you use. So because I don't want to be switching around my sandwich and trying to work it out on camera, I'm just going to stick with the embossing folder that I know will work with this particular set of plates. And I do have a whole bunch I've already done, and I've used different embossing folders for some of them, so we won't get too bored. Right, this is a bit awkward to work under the camera with all this. I'm just going to trim off this top edge of the book page and a bit of the crusty glue off the side while I'm here. And I trimmed the top off so I can get it to the top of my embossing folder. I do hope you can see this. Maybe I need to move up a little bit for the first bit. So in the embossing folder, right, kind of juggle it down a bit. Put my top plate on, and through we go. This one's nice and easy. Some of them it takes a big effort to get going, to get it under that roller. And there, can you see that? See that texture? So much fun. I really should do more embossing. So I'm just going to do this one that we just glued on. And then I can get the Cuttlebug out of the way. There we go. Right, close that up. Pop it on the floor where everything goes. And there we've just got two of that. So already there's a difference between, because this is a, is it a different pack? No, this is packing paper. This isn't a paper bag, it's packing paper. This is the shiny paper bag, and there's already a difference in what they look like. I also have, over to the side here, I've got this one with a kind of like a daisy embossing folder. This one's the same embossing folder. I've got one with leaves, and then I've got one more which will go over at the end. Okay, so we've got a stack to work with. Let's just use this one. I do find it easier to trim down to the edge of where it's embossed. So just quickly do that. or the edge of the brown paper, because I don't know if you picked up on one of these. Just grab it, sorry. This one, I've got a little bit of the white copy paper showing because I draw it on the back, the circle, and didn't realize that I'd gone off the edge of the brown paper. So I learnt to trim it down to the area so I'm safe from getting white on it. Okay, now you could draw around a lid or die cut it. I'm choosing to use a compass, and I've got it set at 1 inch, which will give me a 2-inch circle, and I think that's a really good size for a medallion. You could make it bigger or smaller depending what you prefer. I'm going to flip it over and draw on the back, and just making sure I'm clear of the edges. And draw a circle. Easy as. And then do I have enough room? No, I don't have enough room to do side by side. So we might only get 3 out of this. Oops. And we should have room in between here. Yep, we do. Right, so I've drawn 3 circles. So there's bits here that can be kept for collage fodder or as a layering element. Right, I'm going to try these scissors. I haven't tried these ones. They're called inchworm, and it's just basically a very, you know, a scallop really. And I'm just going to go in and follow around my pencil line. Matching up the pattern when you've got to move your scissors because you've run out of length of your scissors. Just match your pattern up to what you've already cut, if that makes sense. So match the pattern on your scissors to what you've already cut, so you can continue the pattern without missing a beat, so to speak. Quite a simple project, this one, really. Yeah, that's quite good with the scallop. Let's do the other 2 in that as well. Just going to trim off these bits, or that bit anyway, because it's kind of annoying me. Yeah, so I like this pattern as well. So many ways you could customize it depending what you've got available in your stash in terms of tools. Okay, so I'm going to snip that off, and I'm just going to take care of this so it's, you know, we've got a usable scrap left and the rest can go in the rubbish. And shall we do the postal one just for a different edge on this paper? I haven't tried cutting and then embossing, like cutting out your circles and then embossing it. So I don't know if that works better or not. I kind of thought that it might give a different shape, because as it pulls the paper in and, you know, embosses it, I thought it might distort the paper a bit much. Don't know. You could always try it. So there's another usable scrap. I just think they're really, really cute. Okay, so I've got a book page here just to put in behind. And now for the inking. My favourite vintage photo works really well, especially with the brown paper. So give it a nice edge. and they end up not entirely circular because you're hand cutting, and that doesn't bother me. They are, after all, handmade. And then just a brush of ink over top just to bring out that texture a little more. You don't have to, you could just leave it as is, but I do like just making that texture a little bit more defined. So you can see the difference between those. Yeah, so I like inking it over top. Very, very simple, aren't they? They're not complicated, but really effective, and I believe very useful. So again, I'm going to brush over there. Okay, so you can see the difference. It's quite clear to see the difference, I believe. I'm thinking maybe I'll do a different colour on that one. So I'm going to use Lost Lagoon. We'll do a bluey colour. So I haven't done one in this colour, so you can use whatever colour you like to match your project, or something you can make a whole batch of, put them in a container, and then just have them available for when you need. Do a little bit of a mass make, if that's your thing. Oops. There we go. And it's a bluey greeny sort of colour. Pretty, aren't they? Easy, really, really easy to do, and even easier if you have the appropriate dies or punches that work. Let's try one in this daisy pattern. I really want to see how these turn out. So again, just going to trim, and because I've got this bit of book page in the middle, I'm going to cut along there as well. This one's got a border around it, and I don't really want the border, so I'm cutting the border off. It's just like a line. I just want the daisies. I don't know if they're daisies, I just call them daisies. This might not actually be big enough. I might have to do smaller circles on this, or keep it as just a bit of collage photo or layering for something. Maybe I'll just keep it like that as for layering. That would be quite cool. Not sure what I'll do with that. I'll put it aside for now. So we might, will we get 2 out of this? All right. It's a little challenging drawing over the bumps of the embossing. But when I say challenging, it's just, it's not really challenging, it's just weird. Right, can we get another one in the corner? Yep, here we go. Oops, and that's annoying when that happens, because then you've got to try and find the center again. Fortunately, I got it right. Right, let's do the inchworm again, because I quite liked that. I'm so quiet. Oops, a bit munchy there. It's all right. It's just So fun and textural. Good way to add some texture into your journals as well. So good news is my new computer that I haven't used for months because I'll just say it died, is back and it's working like a charm. And my old computer, I think, is dead. So I think it's had its day. I don't think I'll bother even sending it anywhere to see if it can be resuscitated. Fortunately, the most amount of my data is on an external hard drive, so I haven't lost too much on the actual computer itself. And the new one, I thought that the issue was an update, but I couldn't get it back up and running after the update, so that's why I went back to my old computer. And so the guy who fixed my new computer last week, he says yes, it was the update that broke it, and couldn't restore it because when he set it up for me originally, he forgot to put the system restore function on it. So that's why I couldn't actually get it going again. So he just had to reset the whole thing. And again, there wasn't really any data on it to lose. It was all on my external hard drive. So I'm back up and running, and like I didn't even skip a beat. You know, so I was without computer for a week basically. So yeah, basically a week, not quite a week, but I am so relieved to have computer ability again, and it's so much quicker than my old computer, and I'd forgotten how much quicker it is, the new one, and it's just a dream. It's like I click something and it's done it, and I'm used to clicking and waiting. So sometimes I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs and then realize, oh, it's done it. Like, so it will take a little bit of adjustment to get used to it, that it's so quick. But I love it. It's just like working in Photoshop. It's like, you know, bang, 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 there, it's doing it. It's not laboring or thinking or getting stuck because it's like, oh, I'm too tired to do this. I'm too old to be doing this. This is for young people, young computers. Well, just really, I'm giving this one a little bit of a heavier ink just to bring out that daisy texture. And yes, it does colour in between. It does, absolutely. But overall, see the difference between that one I did just a bit heavier inking, and this one I did a bit lighter. I'm actually wondering about using a even darker ink, like maybe ground espresso. I'm just not sure how this is going to go. You know, I don't want to squish out the texture. You put the texture in, you don't really want to squish it out, but I'm going to give it a test, and I might use this one where I haven't inked it. So, oh yes, I don't even have to press hard, so no fears of taking that texture out. Oh, yummy, 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 yummy. And that actually probably goes over the top more because it's flat than the brush, so it doesn't go, this doesn't go down in the gaps so much. Let's give it a darker edge as well. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Love it. Now you could layer these up as well if you wanted. You could do should we do one like that? Let's grab a different pattern. This one. Trim it down to the edge of the pattern. I haven't tried layering them up, so this will be an experiment as well. I was just thinking, if it's a bit light, if you think it's a bit light to use as a closure, what would happen if we did a couple on top of each other in different sizes. Right. So that's 1 inch. Let's go just whatever that is, 3/4 of an inch maybe. Oh, oops. Where was that? That's rough enough. I was almost finished the circle. Right, I'm going to use the same edge pattern, Mr. Inchwormy. Takes a lot of concentration to cut. Obviously, it's very difficult to talk and cut with fancy scissors in a circle all at the same time. Just got a little kind of funny peak happening there, which I'm not happy with. So I'm just going to take it off. Right, so if we layer that up, so you could use a different ink, you could use the same ink, you could use no ink. I think I want to give it an edge, and maybe I'll use the ground espresso. And why not, let's go ahead and do the top of it as well. Yeah, I didn't use this originally because I thought it would perhaps squish the texture too much, but it's actually way more effective at bringing out the texture without colouring the paper in behind. So interesting. So do we want to use that one, or do we want to use that dark one? Could have made it a little bit smaller, I think, to show more of the back pattern. But I really like that. Let's do that one. I think I like it on the vintage photo, just to give different variants. That's what I'm trying to say. Give some variants. So I'm going to glue it on. And give it a good amount of glue because it's from texture onto texture. So we need to make sure we've got as many contact points covered in glue as possible so that it stays where it's supposed to be. So just give it a moment there to kind of affix itself. Have another sip of my coffee. I've got to get motoring actually because I've got extra commitments this week. I've got a meeting on Wednesday morning, and normally I'd be doing like 2 or 3 videos on a Wednesday morning, and I'll probably only have time for one. So I've really got to get my act together this week and make sure I'm doing what I need to ahead of time. That is so cool, and that could be used on its own. Just grabbing my envelope back here. Oh, it's so pretty. I love that. And that's really nice and sturdy now with the double layer of the paper bag on book page. So both of them are on book page. So it's sturdy, but it's not really bulky or thick. You could use cardstock if you like, you know, skip the whole paper bag thing. But this is Trash Craft Tuesday, so I'm using trash, you know, scraps and bits and pieces. Now, if you wanted to decorate that up further, you could put a word or a little small image like a butterfly or a flower or something. You could also put a brad in the middle. I think that would look really cool. I don't know whether you'd use it as a closure with a brad in it. just have to be aware of bulk. So perhaps if you're going to use a brad, use it on something that can be removed from your journal rather than create a lumpy bumpy writing surface. That is so cool. I love that, and I love it just as it is. I think it's really interesting, it's textural, it's visual, it's pretty, and it doesn't need to be brown. You know, if you're not into the brown, you're not into the vintage, make them whatever color you like. You know, if you've got a colored paper bag, that would be awesome too. Right, how are we doing on time? Okay, I have something else here. This is book page, which I've covered with serviette, and it's a Christmas one, and I thought, because I'm going to be doing some Christmas journals, how about we make some Christmas ones? So I've embossed it with, which pattern did I use? A different pattern. This is kind of a swirly pattern, but it's not super obvious because of the print on the napkin. Again, I'm just going to trim it down to the edge of the embossed pattern, which is a little trickier to see. Where is it? There. So just another idea, perhaps you want to use some scraps of serviette, of napkin. Sorry, yeah, napkin. We call them serviettes here in New Zealand, so I automatically called it serviette. But to those of you overseas, you might refer to this as napkin. To us, napkins are fabric and serviettes are paper. So that's that. Right, I'm going to reset this to an inch. Oh, wondering, do I want to actually layer it up on a brown one? Okay, let's do one at this size, and then we'll reset to an inch and do, actually I might even take it in just a fraction more. Where was that? There? No, it wasn't there. I've lost my centre part mark. So let's try that again. No, I went off again. Right, so it's that outside curve. Okay, now let's reset it and do an inch as well, which is a 2-inch circle. And try not to muck it up this time. That's better. Okay, so I'm going to do that inchworm on the smaller one. And with the napkin, it is even thinner. So bear that in mind, because the napkin's not very thick. The resulting medallion is thinner. So I'm wondering, what would this look like? Oh, it would look pretty. Now, do I want to ink it in red or green or brown? I think it might be nice in red. So I'm thinking aged mahogany, which is that kind of reddy brown, might be nice. So where's my thingy majig? Felt pad. That's what a thingamajig is in this case. A nice red edge, since it is Christmas. And in this, I don't know that I want to bring out the actual texture of the embossing. It might make it a bit busy. I think I'll just leave it as that. You could always experiment and see what you think about. In fact, got this little scrap here which is no good for anything. Might not be enough to give an idea. Oh, actually, I don't mind that. Okay, let's do it. I just thought it might be too busy. But I do actually like that. Okay, let's glue that one on there. So these ones I would either use as a decoration, not as a closure, or layer them up, or do them onto a thicker paper to begin with. You know, a thicker book page or a bit of copy paper or something. Oh, it started off really sunny this morning, but it's all clouded over and gone grey and quite cold. And I went outside and it's quite cold outside, so I've got the fire going, but I'm still feeling cold. Right, so we have a brown one. I love this. This is actually my favourite so far. But this is a cool, fun, Christmassy one. And, you know, using scraps is great, isn't it? Using things that are like bits we've already used and they're just hanging around, or just a little bit of something. Okay, let's cut out the bigger one. I think I'll use the postal for this, just to mix it up a bit. Thinking, do I want to do this one in green? See what that looks like. If I can find my green. It's not really the green I want. Here we go, this green, the dark green. So let's do the surface again, I think. See what it looks like. And also be aware, you know, you can read the text very easily under the napkin. So be careful what book page you put it on. You don't want sort of any untoward words popping through your very festive Christmas medallions. That's perhaps not the look you're going for, not the message you're trying to convey. That one I've cut a bit wonky. But it's okay, it will be fine. Wonky is fine, wonky is handmade. And I think red is a good, you know, it's not really light enough to use in this manner, but it looks cool. If we layered it up, we'd have to do a bigger circle because these ones, that one's the same size. You know, I just think they look cool. And what about this one on the envelope? I just think they are so cool and fun and really easy. Really, really easy, guys. So I made a bunch off camera. different effects, different ways, playing around with things. So definitely the paper bag by itself, you would never use it as a closure, but you could fold it in half and use it as a tab on the side of something or on the top of a tag, something like that. So you could certainly make them like that for other uses. But super fun. And then these double layered ones, I think we're just getting into the fun territory with these guys, just layering them up, creating different effects. Really, the sky's the limit. Like, take this idea and make it yours. Do it with different supplies, different embossing folders, different coloured inks, or if you don't have all the different coloured inks, you might want to use some watercolour or some coloured pencil or a marker pen. You know, have fun, play, 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 play. Okay guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the project. I certainly enjoyed myself. Take care and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.